Welcome to the Squad Show. I'm Sam Ekstrom. Which young corner was the biggest whiff that the Vikings moved on from? We'll phrase that a little better later in the show.
Luke Brown, Locked On Vikings. Lord, please grant me the pettiness of a Hall of Fame voter.
Hey, this is Arif Hassan with WideLeft.Football. I'm in Mobile, Alabama for some reason for like the 8th consecutive year. Still don't know why.
I'm Reggie Wilson, and please do not rely on me for any draft analysis.
Skol! It's the Viking Squad. Everything Minnesota Vikings, every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the land of 10,000 lakes. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. It's time to gear up. The Viking Squad Show starts now.
Hello, welcome in Thursday edition Viking Squad Show, streaming live on Locked On Vikings, audio free and available on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts. Hopefully it's with the #1 sports podcast network. That is the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Before the show is over, we discussed the Daronte Jones departure to Washington, and in line with that, the cornerback group from last year. Why could the Vikings only succeed with veterans at corner? Why do they continually whiff on young corners? We'll dive into that. Plus, we rank the team's top free agency needs. And without Inman, no Luke Inman today, Reggie Wilson in for spin. We will have the Senior Bowl prospect of the day, courtesy of Arif Hassan. A little curveball for you. Get someone ready. We also, there's also a Bill Barnwell article this morning that I'm going to jump on these guys. We'll play a little Family Feud with that and a ranking that Barnwell put out there. This is probably worth a breaking news sounder. I think it's within the 72-hour statute of limitations on the sound.
You pick a different set of hours for the statute of limitations like every show.
Yeah, I'm the host. My rules.
I like it.
Daronte Jones.
Keep everybody on their toes.
Washington Commanders. The Brian Flores tree. It's branching out. It's growing a new leaf. Daronte Jones to Washington. Is any position coach, so for instance, Udinski goes to Jacksonville. He's like the hot commodity now, right? Everyone loves Grant Udinski. Maybe that was harmful. Maybe it wasn't. We don't know. Is it ever a big deal to lose a position coach? Does it matter at all? Arif Hassan, take it away.
What kind of question is that?
Does it? Okay. Are we going to notice? Are we going to notice that Daronte Jones is gone?
Here's the deal. When small things, I shouldn't say small, when things like this happen, right, we don't have the ability to perceive what the changes are or how they've occurred. We can't identify the problems or opportunities it creates, but it matters. Like, it matters a lot. That's why they're paid. That's why they get hired. If it didn't matter, you wouldn't employ this many coaches on staff, right? And teams have been doing this continuously. Teams that love to save money, like the Bengals and the Raiders, would employ fewer position coaches if position coaches didn't matter. They matter. The problem is, from the outside looking in, we can't detect who's making, what mistakes, what matters, whether or not, this position coach is doing these things well or these things poorly. We tend to blame the defensive coordinator, or we tend to blame the player themselves for not developing, and that may be accurate, that may be inaccurate. It matters, but not in a way that we're going to be able to accurately identify, next year and say, hey, these defensive backs, this safety, Theo Jackson's not very good. Is that Daronte Jones' fault, or is it because Daronte Jones left? I don't know. It could be that the player it doesn't have the talent ceiling that we want them to have. It could be that Brian Flores lost his fastball, or it could be because Daronte Jones left. We don't know. It matters, but we don't know kind of our own ability to gauge how much that matters. It's just like as if they changed their nutrition program. We might be able to see at the edges some changes in injury rates, but we may not be able to see stuff like the players are not getting stronger, they are getting stronger. We may not be able to see, players getting a step faster or a step slower, but the nutrition program may be the reason. We just don't know that.
See, it's the position coaches. If you go to practice and you watch those training camp practices, or during the regular season, you're watching the the regular season practices. It's the position coaches that are dealing at a drill level, at a rep by rep level with the drills. So they have the most say on technique. They are the ones who make the first adjustment. Get your steps right. Your back pedal sucks, right? Like turn that shoulder differently. Why couldn't Daronte Jones, having that presence with the defensive backs, develop a young cornerback? That would be the knock on Daronte Jones, Luke Braun.
Yeah, that was something I mentioned because David Harrison of Locked On Commanders was asking me about him, and I'm like, this is not a Devy guy. This is not what you're getting with Daronte Jones. And Andrew Kramer actually reported that like one of the biggest values that he provided to the Vikings was in the rotation coverages or the coverage rotations. All this crazy stuff of, Josh Metellus backing off the line of scrimmage and going into a deep half and all these crazy things that somehow worked out and putting those puzzles together, that Daronte Jones had a pretty big hand in designing that. So I wonder if you lose a little bit of that exotic creativity. I mean, Brian Flores, I'm sure, will still do plenty, but that's one brain that was helping do it that now isn't in the building. You have to figure it out. But I think to your first question of, when do we know that this matters? It's so hard, like Arif said, to figure it out with one guy, but we're now down 3 defensive assistants, right? Marcus Dixon's contract has expired. He's taking interviews elsewhere. I forget the name. Their safeties coach left in
LSU.
Cal, I think.
Yep.
Cal, yeah.
And Daronte Jones. So you have none of your secondary coaching left. You don't have your defensive line coach. You have your outside linebackers and your linebackers coach. So you only got 2 position coaches left on the defensive staff. Not to mention Chris Cooper gone on the other side, and if anything else happens on that offensive staff. Yeah. So
you already had to move Benton off the defense because he and Flo hated each other's guts.
And now he's retired anyways.
Yeah.
So there's been quite a bit of staff turnover. It just kind of has slowly leaked out, and it hasn't come in like a wholesale, this guy's fired, that guy's fired kind of way. But I do think you're going to see an impact on that. Who knows? Maybe something will be better because they get a better O-line coach or something like that. But when it comes to Daronte Jones, it sounded like he had a pretty big schematic role. But I definitely agree that, like, I think this is team-wide. I think developing young talent has been a really rough go the entire time Kwesi and O'Connell have been here. And maybe that's because Kwesi's only drafting the worst players in NFL history, or maybe he's bringing in young, raw guys, and the coaches can't figure it out.
And the added title of pass game coordinator, that alludes to what you said, Braun, like more of a defensive pass defense approach. That's not an offensive title, is it? It makes it sound like an offensive title.
No, that's like coverage czar guy.
Coverage czar. I like that.
Yeah.
Reg, do you think has enough been passed down from Brian Flores with his approach? Do you foresee Daronte Jones taking the key principles of this defense and bringing them to Washington? Do you think it will be a carbon copy when he indeed takes over with the Commanders?
I can see it just because, like, you guys talked about it. Mike Pettin and Flo did not get along. Pettin made that very clear. And I think it's so funny because, like, Brian Flores, he didn't get any of these head coaching opportunities. And then you see the Mike Pettin stuff. Flo is not an easy person to work with. He's very demanding. Some might call him maniacal. And Daronte was his guy. Like, he was key on install, on, as Luke said, being a coverage czar. Like, he was the guy. And so now they have to figure out, okay, who's going to be the next guy? Who's going to, because they have to be a certain demeanor. They have to have a certain level of I don't even know what you want to call it, but they have to, like, be able to work well with Flo. And so if they're not able to do that, then, now you're going to have some things that just from a continuity standpoint are not going to carry over from the last few years under Flo to next year. That's going to be the challenge. But then, to Luke and Arif's point, like, okay, if they aren't necessarily developing these corners, I think Daronte got the best out of the corners that they had, that they were playing. I guess. But
That's
like,
fair.
They hit
I
him.
think, yeah, and I think so that alone kind of leaves a big gap and a big hole. And I think because he was such a chief lieutenant of Brian Flores, I do think that there's going to be some carryover to Washington, and that's how it goes. Like, all this Sean McVay stuff back when the Rams were bold and hired him to replace 7-9 perennial Jeff Fisher, and then the league just exploded. Like, oh, we want a guy off of Sean McVay's tree, and we saw last year, Stephon Diggs. Hey, stop running zero. When they were talking after the game, he was really frustrated. Made light of it, but like he had the Texans in hell that day against C.J. Stroud in that offense, and so now as you say, the tree grows, and maybe Daronte, if he goes there to Washington and has some success, then maybe now you start to see more guys get plucked from the Flores tree, which is weird because then Flores doesn't have a head coaching job. So it's like, what is that really saying? But I think, follow me here, I think it's kind of weird because you brought up Grant Udinski. So now Daronte Jones leaves, gets plucked from the flow tree.
The flow chart. I like the flow chart.
There we go.
Oh,
Okay, there we
all
go.
right. Okay.
There you go. But then on the offensive side, Grant Udinski, he's the assistant quarterbacks coach or whatever, and then he's the offensive coordinator in Jacksonville. Now he's this hot name. Do you almost feel like Wes Phillips is like that last episode of Fresh Prince when he just like walks into an empty room and he just looks around like, dang, it's just me left here. Like you see other people get plucked. Grant Udinski is what, like 29, 30 years old or whatever, and like Wes is like, dang, like my dad is legendary. Bum Phillips, my granddad. What's up? The nepotism is not nepotism.
Where's my nepotism?
What's happening?
That's more like a different episode of Fresh Prince where he's asking, why don't they want me?
Yeah.
Exactly.
McCown
Like
saying the same thing. McCown and Phillips having therapy about this together.
Well, McCown was like, a hot coaching name. He got like a couple head coaching interviews like a few years ago, and then the lack of development under Frank Reich and all that in Carolina, and then he's cast off and ends up in Minnesota. Like I think there's still a little bit more to be done there for him to get some nods.
I did some canvassing here at the Senior Bowl about McCown because I was like, hey, how much of this do we think is a problem of quarterback development? How much do we think this is like quarterback coaching? How much do we think this like McCarthy is just like not that good? So I'm asking a couple of people, some affiliated with NFL teams, some affiliated with NFL teams that have maybe or maybe not worked with McCown, and some people who are outside of organizations, right? And pretty universally, people do not seem all that impressed with Josh McCown. When I say not that impressed, I am kind of holding back on the strength of some of the comments I've received. I don't want to like quote them directly in case they're using like language quirks that people can easily identify, but it's not a popular quarterback coach, I guess, is the best way to put it. Not well regarded anymore. Yeah,
I mean, look at the resume of young quarterbacks in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me, like, have you guys ever just met somebody and just known immediately, oh, you're gonna make it? Like, I remember years and years ago, when I was a baby podcaster, like one of the first podcasts I ever did was
like last year.
Yeah, no, it was probably 2016, 2017 with Jordan Reed, who's on ESPN now, and it was like. We were all just trying to figure out how to talk, and Jordan was so much better at this than all of us. And then you blink and you look up and he's on TV and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I feel like that's what's happening with Grant Udinski. Like everybody is like, yeah, well, yep, that's gonna happen to him.
Yeah. I experienced that with Trevor Sikkema when I was hanging out with him at like the Combine way back.
Yeah.
Back when he was like, actually pre-Draft Network, Pewter Report. I was like, this guy has too many chops to be hanging out here with me.
Draft Twitter has a really nice success tree of like a decade ago.
Oh, yeah.
The
It got
2016
tentacles
meme. Yeah.
in a lot of.
I wrote about it. Check it out at Why Left Out Football. But yeah. So Udinsky is extremely well regarded. Which I'm going to say scuttle, but I think this is just reported. I don't know. Like feel like this has been on Twitter. If it's not, I guess I'm reporting it. This is not that shocking. The primary reason he seems to not have, made it as a head coach in his first round through the interview process is primarily because he just doesn't have a coaching staff ready to go, right? Like most people during these coaches interviews, they go over, the coaching staff that they plan to hire. And these are people that have already agreed that, hey, if you become a head coach, I'll go with you, right? And that obviously is just a product of experience, right? Like he just hasn't been in the league long enough to develop and form the kinds of relationships that would allow him to say, hey, I trust this guy. If I'm going to be a head coach, I could trust this guy to be my defensive coordinator. I trust that guy to be able to hire these guys as maybe defensive backs coaches, linebackers coaches, whatever. This guy's going to help me call plays, or this guy's going to help me design plays. This guy, he's going to be my mentor, so he's going to be like the assistant head coach, right? Like all of those don't just need to be identified. Those guys kind of have to agree that, like, hey, when you're in a head coaching interview, feel free to drop my name as somebody that could potentially work with you, right? And that's just an experience thing. It feels like, from my understanding, that people are pretty impressed with him. That he's got this trajectory, a Trevor Sikkema trajectory, right? But that you need to develop and form those relationships in order to do something, which is kind of like the opposite of what Mike Zimmer was doing, right? Remember, he got all those interviews, he never got hired, and part of the reason was because he never bothered to put together. It's not that he didn't have the connection; he never bothered to put together a coaching staff. So when they asked him about the coaching staff, I think like his Titans interview, right? He was just like, I don't know, I'll figure it out, which he did. He put together like an all-star coaching staff, but like
I did get one very interesting piece of Zimmer intel. Sorry to derail that.
Sure,
I heard that. When faced with the very difficult question of, well, Mike, who's going to coordinate your offense? He's like, offense. He probably said that.
Yeah, he probably let out a good dad noise.
Oh, I hate offense. And he settled on Norv Turner. And the report I got was that
Hall of Fame coordinator
Zimmer believed he should have fired Turner after their first meeting. But the cat was out of the bag. Like it was literally poisoned from the very first meeting because Turner and Zimmer were extremely hard-headed. Opposites kind of need to attract, I think, in these situations, and they were exactly the same, just on different sides of the ball.
That's so strange. He's had such good relationships with the other offensive coordinators.
Yeah, good point. The opposite thing didn't really work either. So to put a bow on the Daronte Jones bit, I wanted to end with this. I was listening to our Commanders squad show guy, Nick Ashu, who's very, very good. And he was saying that Washington has abysmal defensive personnel heading into next year. Awful. And it makes me
Half
wonder.
Of them are like almost retired. I don't know, man.
And maybe that's perfect for a Brian Flores style defense because Brian Flores can't have young guys. It's the linebackers, veterans. The corners, got to be veterans. If you try to plug a young guy in, it usually doesn't work. It's a vet. You need to have X number of reps to understand these concepts and execute them. And I just am curious if this is a defense that travels to a different organization with different and possibly bad personnel, if it can be duplicated. It's like Ben Johnson couldn't do Lion stuff in Chicago. He didn't have the right personnel. I wonder if it works on the defensive side of the ball. Quick thoughts on that, Reggie. If you think that there's a very specific type of player required to be in the Flores scheme, which is why, as we'll get into next segment, they can't have young guys in that unit.
Yes. I remember 2 seasons ago, when the defense was balling out and we saw it and we were like, man, like this is so like just all over the place. It's chaos. And I remember we talked to Cam Bynum and he was talking about even like mid-season, talking about just how tough the defense was to grasp. Harrison Smith, even talking about how difficult the defense was to grasp. And Flo was kind of relying on guys like Harry to really kind of help, with all that they're doing on that defensive side. And they're still trying to learn this defense as they are running things. And so I think, honestly, KO and Flo kind of have like a similar thing going, I feel like, where they kind of need a certain caliber of a veteran player.
Did you guys lose Reggie, or was that just me?
Yep, we lost Reggie.
I thought it was me. But
Lost your audio. You workshop that. It was a great point you were making.
Yeah, we were in the
How about now?
Take. Oh,
nope, he's back.
He's back.
He's back.
Okay. No, so I was just saying, like, with KO and Flo, I feel like they kind of have a similar thing going where their concepts are kind of difficult for young guys to grasp. I mean, we saw Ty Felton, you draft him in the third round, and he doesn't even really see the field until late in the season. And you're like, why can't this guy contribute? These young guys probably cannot grasp these concepts on both sides of the ball. And so, which really kind of makes me think about Kyrie Jackson. They were so high on him. Flo was very complimentary of him. They had big plans for him. I just wonder if that tragedy doesn't happen, what his role and impact is on Brian Flores' defense. Does he buck the trend? Because what we've seen is these veterans even have a hard time picking up Flo's concepts, and he's playing those guys as opposed to the younger guys.
When we return, we'll talk more about the inability to develop young corners and which one that they let go provides the most regret. Brought to you today by Rocket Money. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming, especially when you turn the calendar to a new year. You're trying to take stock of all the financial stuff that you're behind on, subscriptions you've forgotten about, bills that keep coming in, the mail for some reason. Who wants snail mail? Just send me an internet bill. And who has time to track down every transaction and all those hidden fees? Rocket Money is the personal finance app that helps you take control. Finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It's shocking what it can uncover and the stuff you're paying for that you aren't even aware of. Just a few taps on the app, no hunting down customer service numbers. Rocket Money will handle it all for you. Consolidates your checking, savings, loans, investments into a single dashboard. That's pretty nice too. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon, rocketmoney.com/lockedon, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Also brought to you by everybody's favorite
Game Time.
He said it. Nothing like being at the NBA arena. Nothing like being at the NHL arena. You got Wolves. You got Wild. Hey, you got Gophers basketball too. You got St. Thomas hockey. Go check that out. Lee and Penny Anderson Arena. 4 home games left. Game Time's the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. Puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. When you see the prices, that's an all-in number. No surprise fees at checkout. Get the view from your seat. Make the decision easy of where you want to sit. Zone deals can help you save money. You choose the section. Game Time picks the seats. Arif told you what the product is. It's Game Time. It's quick. It's intuitive. It's Game Time. It takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Use the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. Reggie, I'll give you a little inside baseball lesson. So when I do the Game Time read, it's customary for you to shout out Game Time during it.
But really, at the
you
most
actually can do it
inconvenient.
whenever. We've done it 20 minutes after the read. We've done
Game
it before.
Time.
You don't have to worry about it. Yeah. So you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm locked
You have
in.
about 35 minutes left to fit that in somewhere.
The goal, though, truly is to interrupt Sam with it.
Yeah. No, that's actually yeah.
Yeah, trying to get me to break, which is very
Keep
easy to
that.
do. Very
I'll
easy to
keep
do.
that in mind.
Well, we talked about how the Vikings just don't like corners in general, particularly the young ones. This is how many snaps they used for the CB3 this year. A lot of hand-wringing about who's going to be CB3? Who's going to be CB4? They barely needed the CB3, and that is thanks to the health of Murphy, the health of Rodgers. You want to guess the number of non-Murphy and Rodgers cornerback snaps this year? Throw it out. What do you think?
350.
What's it? Okuda plus Fabian Moreau, basically.
And then a little sprinkling of Nudie McGlothern.
Yeah, when he was on the active roster. 200.
Reg?
Split the difference, 300.
Reggie
Price is
wins.
Right.
Reggie wins because he's 22 away. Arif was 28 above. It's 322.
It's really like the Price is Right. Okay.
Yeah. Just
Hey,
went
you should
over
pick
there.
201.
Murphy and Rodgers are back next year, and it's a mystery beyond that. How do we assess their 2025 seasons, Luke Braun?
Surely this is the year. No, I think. Well, I think Murphy played fine. A pretty quiet year for him, and I'm okay with that as a corner. Isaiah Rodgers did not have a quiet year by any stretch of the imagination, and it's very unfortunate that all the goodwill that was built from that crazy Supernova Week 3 game kind of got undone by missing a tackle here or there, getting beat here or there, and kind of being an up and down corner, which is more what I expected from him going into the season. I am perfectly happy with them being cornerbacks 1 and 2, but I'm really, really, really sick of going into off seasons going, well, they've got 2 warm bodies in that room. Good luck. And having this absolute dire emergency need every single freaking year since COVID, where you end up starting undrafted free agents and you end up bringing in reclamation projects or guys that are way past their prime because it's such a panicked emergency that you're like, oh God, we got to get, can Stephon Gilmore still play? Like, that's what we're always doing. Can we get a serious room? Like some real depth. And yeah, the fact that they've flamed out horribly on all of their young talent. And sometimes it's not their fault, like with Kyrie Jackson. I think if Mekhi Blackman doesn't tear his ACL, I think he's still on this team. There's like, you could go guy by guy and say, why didn't that guy work? And that's maybe a worthwhile exercise to see exactly what's going on with the development of these defensive backs, although now it's a moot point since Daronte Jones is out anyways. But they need to get young, time's up. The alarm is going off. It's time to draft a real cornerback and have some young talent that can be part of this team for a while.
Yeah. Arif, to me, the Blackman trade is still the most mystifying. I think that cutting Dantzler, defensible. Andrew Booth trade, defensible. If anything's indefensible, it's that they let go of Nashawn Wright.
Yeah, they acquired the perfect guy. What are you doing?
Yeah, Yargy's got his hands up. Like, come on, you had it. You had a starter, but Blackman, who was good as a rookie, and I don't know if he was phenomenal with the Colts, but he started a season like he was a corner in the league, and he's still a young talent. And you had 2 years of team control, and you give him away. That it still puzzles me beyond. I don't. Why wouldn't you want one young piece as depth? One piece.
I want to reframe the goal that I said. The goal needs to be that let's go through a season without needing to grab a corner off the street, like in a panic after one injury. Like that's what bugs me. It's just the numbers game. It's like if it's a room with like some dubious young talent because you got young raw guys, like okay. But can we go a year without being like, oh no, we got to bring somebody in that's been sitting on the couch?
Emergency.
Like, can we just have the room go into camp and be like, oh, that's a normal cornerback room, and we'll see who makes the team.
Yeah.
And then they keep 5 guys, and that's that, you know?
Yeah,
couple young guguys. Yeah.
That would be ideal. Yeah, we obviously were confused about the Blackman trade at the time, so this is not just kind of like backcasting. And what we've been doing with the Darnold and JJ McCarthy thing is like say, hey, don't worry about what our takes were then. They were wrong, so don't worry about that. Here, we kind of anticipated this particular and specific problem, right? Which is that cornerbacks tend to get injured at a higher rate than a lot of other positions, or rather, you are more likely to need an injury replacement at corner. So it's really good to have depth at that position, and you didn't have that with Mekhi Blackmon, much less now without him, right? And to your point, Sam, like, yeah, he showed some promise. Obviously, the injury was kind of a big concern. And, from my understanding, I did a quick, like, PFF check. Who knows? Maybe they're wrong. It sounds like he wasn't outstanding, but he was viable, right, for the Colts. Viable would have been nice, right? After you lose Jeff Okudah to injury, after you're playing Fabian Moreau a lot, and one of the issues is it's not even necessarily that you didn't play a ton of cornerback 3, it's that you didn't have the flexibility to maybe play 3 cornerbacks when you wanted to, right? Because there's a bunch of personnel packages that Flores is putting together, right? And so some of the nickel packages are 3 safety, not going as well because Theo Jackson isn't quite the safety you wanted him to be. Some of them are obviously 3 linebacker, whatever, right? Like, you've got a bunch of different personnel packages, but one of the most common ones, and there's a reason for it, is to have 3 cornerbacks, and you didn't really have access to that to the same degree that you wanted to. And a lot of that, I think, is because of the Blackmon trade. Didn't really make a lot of sense at the time. Certainly didn't make sense in retrospect. It's not just that they need, like, viable bodies. Is that they need, like, a development path for players that they've acquired, so that I don't know how well Fabian Moreau knows the defense, but I'm pretty confident Blackmon has some understanding of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like stuff like that, right? Where then you can layer in additional concepts. Like, one of the reasons that Zimmer defense ended up becoming so good in 2017, 2018 is because many of those players, right? The Vikings have, like, famous continuity at these positions. Many of those players had been in the same defense for multiple years, and so you can layer on additional defensive concepts. You have the ability to communicate without having to vocally communicate. You can communicate without communicating, essentially, and you had the ability to adjust really quickly because everyone understood where everyone else was going, what the defense wanted to do, and how you adjusted things like motions and stuff like that. And so, constantly bringing in new players, you're starting from step 1 and rebuilding the defense constantly. Now that you don't have a Harrison Smith to kind of help guide people, now you're going to be in an even worse spot next year, because now you're going to rely on younger players that maybe don't have as much experience communicating with other people, don't have as much experience in the defense, etc., and you don't really have that layering that's going on.
Reggie, I didn't even mention your guy, a Missouri guy, Caleb Evans, another guy that they let go, and maybe that was justified. He hasn't done much since, but it's a long laundry list.
Yeah, and Caleb Evans was Kwesi's draft crush that year. He was, like, so hot on him, and he was just so fortunate when the board fell how it fell, and he was able to draft a Caleb. And the worst tape that we saw, and Caleb's a great guy, man, like, really great guy. But that Bengals game against T. Higgins, ooh, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. That was just tough. And Flo was like, you see what happens when I try to play the young guys? Get them out of here. I think it's interesting because I feel like every year we have this same conversation. And like I said, they made a stride to try to help that with Kyrie Jackson. Nobody could have seen what happened, to him happening. And that's unfortunate because I do think that, they had high hopes for him. Here's what's interesting. We have these same concepts, and we've seen Flores' defense play so well with two. They're like a bad spades hand. They got 2 in a possible out there playing corner. You mix and match. You got Jay Ward out there, but he's not necessarily a corner. And then, they took a gamble and didn't pay Cam Bynum and instead, invested into Theo Jackson, and injuries happen as well. And so maybe that wasn't necessarily the easiest transition there. They got to get this thing right with these corners because, like, you're 2-3 weeks into the season and you're like, I've got some history with Fabian Moreau. Let's bring him back in. Let's bring him back in.
Let's talk about this in March for once.
Exactly. And it's like, I thought for a second, I was like, he's still on the street. Maybe they call Stephon Gilmore and ask him, like, hey, would you want to come back? like, because we still don't necessarily have the answers. And somehow Flo finds a way. I don't know if this is an indictment or praiseworthy that Flo finds a way to field good, if not great, defensive performances. And he's only got like 2 and a possible corners out there. But like, you would like to see some depth in that room, especially because like that was I talked about Byron Murphy is my guy. Okay. I talked to Byron pretty much every week in that locker room this past season. And he admittedly was like, yeah, this hasn't been like the best year for me. He was a late bloomer. It took it to the last several weeks of the season for him to even register his first interception of the season. He finished with 2. That all-world performance that Luke talked about, that was the only time Isaiah Rodgers got a pick this season. And it was just like, dang, he peaked at week 3, and then that was it. Like, I thought that was like a coming out party for him. And that's tough when you see that you don't necessarily have the depth at corner that you would like. And then you bench the guy. You bench the guy for Jay Ward because he tackles better. And you're just like, how is this even possible? But they've still found a way to stay competitive and stay in these games. So like I said, I don't know if it's an indictment or if it's praiseworthy that Flo is still able to figure this thing out.
Yeah, speaking of tackling, Murphy and Rodgers, bottom 12 in missed tackle percentage this year. Gotta shore that up in the offseason. And where does corner rank on our free agency needs? We discussed that on the other side of the Viking Squad Show. We are brought to you today by Indeed. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring? Indeed's all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. That's a hassle. That's a pain. Get it at the top of the screen with Indeed sponsored jobs. Reach the right candidates faster, because with Indeed sponsored jobs, you are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. If you're struggling with other places, this is absolutely the tool that will give you the best matches and make your life easier with that hiring process, because you don't have time for that nonsense. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check the boxes. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now. Support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. All right, Reggie, brace yourself. Here's the favorite open on the show.
This is Minnesota Sports Rankum, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota, and it starts now.
Wearing a superhero shirt, just,
I dig it.
thematically.
I dig.
Just vibing out.
Top 5 free agency needs and where corner falls in it. Reggie, you're the guest. Why don't you start from the bottom? We will roll around the horn with our number 5s.
Number 5s. Whew. Okay. All right. I guess top 5. I'm just gonna put 5. Jalen Naylor. Like not just like a group, but just him. Bring him back.
Specifically.
Just bringing back Jalen. Oh, can I do that too with someone?
Yeah, just bring him back. Bring him back. I think that's a need. Also, it's crazy to say this, but tight end. Like I don't know what the plan is for Hawk moving forward. You got Josh there. Like I think you kind of gotta address that situation. This is tough.
You're lockstep with me. You can think through your list, Reggie. I also had wide receiver number 5. I think wide receiver, and that fits right in line with, if not Naylor, somebody else, but I think you need someone else in that room. I didn't personally assume that Hawkinson is gone, so I didn't put tight end on my list, but wide receiver for sure at number 5. Arif, number 5?
quarterback. I just feel like the Vikings obviously need to bring in a veteran of some sort. I'm not trying to replace JJ after 1 year of play, but rather the Vikings need to have a quarterback that they're comfortable starting a game that doesn't show up in August. I think that the Vikings have been pretty excited about the prospect of developing guys, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, whatever, right? And cool, right? But like you need a guy that you can turn to, right? Both whether or not, let's say the defense is having like a top 3 year, right? McCarthy's just not doing it. Halfway through the season, you might have to make a decision. And I would rather you make that decision about a guy that you trust to be able to handle the offense and not like Anthony Richardson, right? Like it would be fun to develop Anthony Richardson, right? I don't care, right? You have to bring in which I don't know if that's available, whether that means you got to trade for Mac Jones. I don't know, right? But you have to bring in a guy that, if McCarthy has another injury or if you just need to turn away from it because you've got, a bottom level, like 32nd ranked offense or something like that, and you've got the ability to make a playoff push, just have someone. And then the benefit of that is that you have another quarterback coach too, right? You got somebody who can, say, hey, McCown told you that, but don't worry about that. Here's the real deal, right? But somebody in the quarterback room that'll help advance McCarthy's development, and also somebody who's got the ability to sling the ball if you need to.
Cool. Number 5, Braun.
So, contrary to my whole rant, I have corner number 5 as a free agency need, and the reason I have it lower than some of these other emergencies is because it's not the only emergency on the Vikings roster. There are things that that are not tenable right now. They have to do something about it. But I also see it more as a draft need than a free agency need. I think that's, get an infusion of young talent to be depth. They do have 2 starters under contract that, they could keep for more years if they wanted to, but they need an infusion of young talent that can be developed, that can wait in the wings, that can be CB4, and it's ultimately more of a depth need. But I honestly had some trouble narrowing it down. There are a lot of really important needs here, and I think I went with, okay, what room needs to be rebuilt and what questions can't be answered outside of free agency? Where do you need a veteran really bad? I don't necessarily think that's the should be the approach at corner.
It's interesting. I valued it higher simply because you don't have anyone. Like there's no one conceivably right now that could be your third cornerback. Whereas you might have options at other positions that could backfill. But let's get Reggie's number 4.
Number 4. Okay. I said tight end. I think I want to back up on that just, because of we don't know what's going to happen with Hawk. But I think, okay, this is tough because I put this list together, but then I thought about it to Luke's point. Some of these are like draft needs and not necessarily like free agency needs. And I think those are 2 different things. So I guess I go at number 4. I'll go safety.
Reggie and I are just dialed in, and that's exactly my number 4 as well.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen with Harry. He's year to year. I still believe he's coming back for whatever irrational reason. But like, I do think that you have to find some sort of heir apparent. And to all the points that we made about how they prefer older guys to younger guys, I think if they can find not an older guy, but like, a guy who could kind of be the heir apparent that, maybe you don't have to draft like Lewis Seen, which was a whiff, then you could conceivably imagine, like a 25, 26-year-old guy coming in and being the next safety.
Totally. That was my number 4. Arif, number 4?
Yeah, I didn't make a huge distinction between draft and free agency needs. I thought about it when I was constructing the list, but I figured if you get as many needs as you can filled during free agency, it gives you a lot more flexibility and freedom during the draft. So, hey, if you find the next Pat Surtain, signing, CB3 is not going to really impact that decision. But this one was really tough. I was deciding because I felt like I needed to have quarterbacks on the list. So I had to decide between, This one, the one I eventually picked, and linebacker, because I believe Eric Wilson is a free agent or something. I don't know. You gotta figure that one out. Yeah. So you gotta figure that one out, right? And Eric Wilson obviously better than Ivan Pace. Linebackers are important, but it's just not as important as this next need, which technically the Vikings just have locked down. But I think after they go through kind of restructures and cuts and whatever, you will need defensive tackles. You're letting go of either Javon Hargrave or Jonathan Allen or both, right? Jalen Redmond was a nice find, but you need kind of something additional there that's going to cost you a lot less than those two did, or one of those two did. Javon Hargrave did produce a lot of pressures. That's kind of nice, but obviously, he lost snap count for a reason. Jonathan Allen was pretty productive, but not to the level of his contract. The Vikings, were fairly effective against the pass, and part of that was the pressure that was produced by the interior. So I don't want to sacrifice that too much, but I do think reducing your pass rush productivity from the defensive tackles to increase your capability against the run would be pretty nice, right? And I'm not saying, Taki Taimani or Levi Drake Rodriguez need to be put out the pasture or anything like that, but I do think you can't just rely on them plus Jalen Redmond, plus one of those other two. I think that you need to add some more guys in free agency, at least to create some camp competition there. But it was a tough one between this and linebacker, who I probably would have ranked 6th.
I probably would have put defensive tackle 6th for that reason, but we're only doing top 5. I went with linebacker. They have currently under contract Blake Cashman and a guy they benched in Ivan Pace. Like outright, just stopped getting snaps. We're done with you. And 2 guys on futures contracts. That's the entire room. So that feels like a wee oo, help. Someone call 911. The room is my linebacker room. It hurts. And this is where I'm going to pull a Reggie Wilson and say, just get Eric Wilson back in the building. That dude was such a stud for the entirety of the season. He was an absolute demon on those blitzes. You should not let that man. If that guy so much as starts chatting with other teams at the combine, you've done yourselves a disservice. I think that needs to be a priority.
It shouldn't be that expensive. He's had 1 year of production and he's a little bit older. So
it shouldn't be expensive at all. It should be the easiest thing in the world to get that done. But then you only have 3 people in the room, and you need at least like 6 or 7 to get to get into camp. So you probably need to draft a guy too. It's a very, very barren. I would have felt better, Cashman and Pace, that's their 2 guys. But that's not their 2 guys anymore. So they need a starter and they need a couple of backups at that one. That feels like.
You think they could sign Kobe King?
I hear he's good.
My God. Can we stop losing draft picks to waiver wire? Stop being cute about it. And then they don't want to expose Andre Carter went to waivers. What is happening?
Andre Carter, what a pull. Army. All right, rip
that
through.
Man made me feel so insane. Everyone's like, "Oh, he's such a guy. You can't expose him to waivers. You're going to lose him." Like, you can't make a team.
Austin Keys says bad dad joke. I agree, Austin Keys. Let's rip through the top 3. Reggie, just give them all at once. 1, 2, 3,
right.
Or 3, 2,
Luke
1.
Luke just made my point. I put linebacker at 3 just because of everything that he just said, and I won't belabor that point. Number 2, I go quarterback just because a quarterback's best ability is his availability. And with JJ McCarthy, loved the guy. Thought he came on strong as the season went on and as he was able to just actually be out there. But going into a season where you have a quarterback who's had some injury issues and to not have any legit competition in that quarterback room is organizational malpractice. And so, as Arif said, I don't know if you try to trade for Mac Jones or just kind of, see what's out there. The trading for Sam Howell didn't work out well. So, actually get a legit guy who can compete with JJ in the offseason that's going to make him better. And, JJ shows up week 1 as the bona fide guy ready to rock. So that's number 2. And number 1, just from all that we talked about, cornerback. I think you need to draft them. And then I also think you need to sign them because at some point you just got to fill up the room. I feel like, when you're going into these rooms in the facility and you're just talking to 2 guys, it's like, what's that conversation like? Hey man, keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing it. You're our 2 go-to guys. We love you. Stay healthy, please.
Yeah, right.
Two-man
don't
group.
get
We're
hurt.
rolling with a two-man group this year. We're going to have
There you
13
go.
defensive tackles and 2 corners.
And
We're
we'll
gonna
never
try
once
something.
cover the
Hell
middle
yeah.
of the field.
Gonna
Hell
try
yeah.
something new. No one said this yet. I've got center at number 3.
Yeah.
I've
Me
got
too.
corner at number 2 and quarterback number 1. Quarterback number 1. Arif, top 3?
Yeah, this is the only area where I decided that free agency and the draft kind of made a small difference for my rankings here. So number 3 is safety. I think a veteran or a draft pick there would be fantastic. 2, cornerback. You need more bodies. You need both free agency and the draft there. But number 1, center. That's the one area where I feel a little bit more confident with a veteran than a draft pick. You can swap any of these 3 around, but you absolutely need to acquire a center somehow, and it has to be somebody who's got the ability to handle protections. I don't want McCarthy has so much to focus on in order to improve. I don't want to add on top of that, figuring out all the protections on his own, right? In concert with the center, that'd be great, but like you absolutely need to get a center that knows what he's doing, and I think you're more likely to get that in free agency. I haven't looked at what's happening in free agency at these positions, so maybe there's nobody available, but
Tyler
that's
Linderbaum,
kind
baby.
of where I'd want to go.
So we don't buy Blake Brandel as the center next year.
I would.
I don't hate it
love
as
to-
a competition, but give him an offseason to learn how to snap.
I
'cause those
think
were
Blake
bad.
Brandel is a phenomenal backup offensive lineman to have. I just don't want him at center.
Yeah. I got 2 of the 3, same as Sam. I have center at 3 for all of those reasons. I think we're all kind of in lockstep. We don't really expect Ryan Kelly back. I mean, it could happen, but whether it's his choice or the Vikings, everybody's got a reason
for
not to
them
do
to
this.
bring him back. They should not avail themselves of that.
Just morally, yeah. And then I have safety number 2. It's just that room is really barren. You've got Josh Metellus, and that's the only returning starter. I'm not counting Theo Jackson as a starter because the Vikings no longer count Theo Jackson as a starter. He got fully benched. And Jay Ward, those are the returning safeties. And then I got quarterback number 1, like Sam. I think that even though it's a backup job possibly, or like a competition job, it's not like a true blue, we need to get a guy to just slot in as a starter. It is, to me, the priority of the offseason is to get a plan so that if JJ McCarthy gets a hurdy boo-boo again, you don't end up having to trot out the worst quarterback the league has ever seen, which happened twice last year.
You can legitimately soft bench him this time.
Yeah, you need that. You need the option to, really lie to the press and lie on your injury reports. And, you need to be able, you can't Brosmer this again. I know it was QB3 with Brosmer, but the scramble to get Carson Wentz meant they had to accept additional injury risk to their already like injury problem quarterback. And then that's how you end up with QB3. So get a real option in there. Get somebody to compete, get somebody he has to beat in camp, and get somebody that can take over if he twists his ankle.
Luke's had 2 great turns of phrase today about like medical emergencies. Hurdy boo boo. And I think he said, help ambulance. I have a hurt cornerback room.
I did say wee you. Yeah, that's important.
Wee you.
Yeah.
I make the guys play more guessing games next, where Kevin O'Connell ranks of all coaching hires the last 5 years. Brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to hand things off and move on with your day. TurboTax full service. Have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish. No stress, no guesswork. Tax season's not fun. This time of year comes around, I'll be stressed until April 15th because that's when I will get it done. Well, instead of spending those hours trying to figure out forms, I could meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They'll handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. Huge time saver, peace of mind. For a limited time, have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate. Get back to your life. TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. And make sure to check out Luke Braun, Locked on Vikings, 30-minute daily dose of Vikings football. Guessing game, Bill Barnwell ranked all 37 coaching hires over the last 5 years. Where did he put KOC? Shout it out.
5.
11.
10. I'll go 10.
That's an Arif win. That's an Arif Hassan
Ooh.
win.
Up
Number
there.
7. Number 7 is
Oh.
correct. And now for the Family Feud portion, who was better? Who was better? 6 answers on the board. You get 3 strikes.
Of the last 5 years.
5 years.
Who was better?
Andy Reid.
No, hires of the last 5 years. Hires.
Of the last 5 years.
D'Amico Ryans, right?
Yes. Number 5. Number 5.
Nick Sirianni was within the last 5 years, right?
Number 2.
Vrabes? We got to get Vrabes up there.
Got to
right?
get Vrabes in there.
Number 4.
Mike McDonald.
Number 3.
Which was just recency biasing it
The
like
two
crazy. Good
Super
job,
Bowls.
Bill.
Yeah.
2 more.
Well, I mean, the last 5 years, 2 of them just made this. It's 5 years. It's not that many that have Super Bowl.
Yeah. Huh.
They haven't had
Last
time
5
to
years.
flame out and get fired yet. We would have put Dable
Is,
on this list in 2022.
Yeah.
Did they put Liam Cohen on there?
Ooh, I like that. Let's go with
Great
that.
guess, but that is a strike. That's a
Oh,
one
Okay.
strike. Cohen is
Okay.
11th. 11th.
Ah, okay. So wait, we're just looking for number 1 right now.
And 6. You need 6.
Number 1 and number 6.
Oh, and
Who's the
6.
best coaching hire of the last
The last
5 years? Dan Campbell.
Correct. Danny, who I think is 5.
Okay.
Well,
Well, it can't be Ben Johnson then.
Is it? Yeah, I was thinking that.
There's
Is
no
it?
way. Number 1? No way.
Ben, no, Campbell was 1.
Campbell
Oh,
was
okay.
1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ben
Okay.
Johnson
I
is
could-
8. That's a strike.
Is 8.
What?
Ooh.
No, Sam, I said it
Ah.
can't be. That's not a guess.
Okay. All right.
What do you,
Ooh.
We're
Ooh.
taking this game really seriously, by the way.
Sam,
Yep.
We're always taking these games seriously. Sam, you can't be doing this.
You guys are you're fumbling right now. The clock's running out.
So
Probably
we're just
Sean
looking for
Payton.
number 6.
Number 6. Number 6.
Oh,
go
I
Sean
like
Payton.
that. Arif. Yeah, Sean Payton.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Got him.
Bam.
Very good.
Boom.
We will not be allowing the
I
other
will
families.
The other
learn
team
my
cannot
lesson and
steal.
not discuss what I
will
want
accept-
out loud in case Sam thinks somehow that's a guess.
You have to use
Yeah, I will-
euphemisms.
I'll accept my participation trophy. I don't think I guessed one of those.
I kind of like the
Hey, that's
ranking
all right.
though. I think 7.
It's a team game.
I think 7 is just about right. You win
Sure. Yeah.
13 games or more, 2 seasons. You get the most out of Kirk, get the most out of Darnold.
But the
Dog.
lack of playoff wins, I think,
Yeah.
probably is why
Yeah,
he's at
that's rough.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
do
The shine is wearing off, but when you do this exercise of like all of the head coaching hires, the vast majority of these people have not worked
So,
out.
yeah.
Uh,
So many of
yeah,
these coaches.
can you
get
guess
fired.
The bar to
37?
be top 15 is not
Who's
high.
37?
Number 37?
Yeah, who's
Pete
at the
Carroll.
bottom? At the
It's got to
bottom.
be
not-
Urban Meyer.
Pete,
It's a
Pete Carroll's
Urban.
a good one.
Yeah,
Urban
it's gotta
is
be
Urban
Urban
is good.
Meyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Urban, okay. All right.
And
Where was
is the next
Pete?
one Nathaniel Hackett?
36, Frank Reich. 35, Hackett. 34, David Culley. 33, Lovey Smith.
Oh, that's unfair.
Don't do that to
Culley
David
was set up
Culley.
to fail. David
He's
Culley was
been
set up to
through
fail. You
enough.
can't be doing that. Bill,
32, Josh McDaniels. 31, Pete Carroll.
I
Is,
cannot believe
is Steve
it.
Wilkes on there?
I think that's too old.
Pierce.
That's too
keep going
old?
here. Pierce, 30. Glenn,
Mm.
29. Callahan, 28. Mayo, 27. Gannon, 26. Aberflus, 25. I don't see Wilkes.
Dang, Mayo was
Yeah.
higher than I thought
Flus
he
was
was
like 2018.
Yeah, Mayo's a little bit higher than. Wait, so you get Mayo some leeway for the situation he's put in, but you don't get David Culley any leeway for being a sacrificial lamb? Come on.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Arif, end the show with a Senior Bowl prospect of the day.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Hold on. We got a thing. We got to do a thing.
And
There it is.
Fantastic.
The John Carroll receiver.
I was hoping you were going to say the Missouri Edge guy.
He's been fine. Also, Magic Pineapple wants me to name a shrine guy. That's not going to happen.
He
I have
did
a Senior Bowl
on
right
Monday. He did on Monday.
Yeah.
Magic's a
name?
huge Iowa fan. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
There.
What was his name? Ty Montgomery, right? The John Carroll receiver. So Tyreen Montgomery, the little board that showed us all the speed scores during the Senior Bowl, called him Tyree Montgomery. Very funny. No, he's been fun. I think he measured in at like 5'11". He was like a walk-on basketball prospect at LSU. Decided he wanted to play football. Did flag football for a while. Apparently, according to one of my friends, was offered a spot on the Olympic flag football team, but then learned that if he participated on that team, he would not have eligibility for the NCAA. Again, I don't know if that's true. Maybe someone lied to him. Maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe he's lying to us about being offered an Olympic scholarship. Either way, I respect it. He ends up continuing to play flag football and ends up getting noticed by Division III John Carroll. So he ends up playing football, and he's been outstanding here. He's created a lot of separation. He's shown some agility in short area burst. He's winning a ton of these contested catches. Maybe a concern that it's a lot of contested catches, but at least he's winning them, right? To me, a lot of the contested catches are a product of like the quarterback quality here. It's not that great. There's an NDSU quarterback here, so, but I do think, yeah,
Wow.
I do think that Ty Montgomery's shown a lot here, and I think that he's played himself into being a draft pick. He's a ton of fun to watch. He's a great personality, and someone I know is like working on finding his John Carroll film, which would be really fun if we can get access to it. But he's generated a ton of separation on a bunch of different types of routes. So slants, intermediate routes like digs. He got some on a deep go and a deep post.
He runs routes like Diggs. Wow, what a comp!
Okay. But no, it's been fun, and he has and one thing that's really nice, not a lot of wasted movement in his routes. A ton of time in like the Shrine and the Senior Bowl, you're seeing all of these guys just kind of spending extra time to get open. We've been calling them TikTok routes because they look good on TikTok. But they don't get open in time. It's like a bunch of Hunter Renfros.
I don't have 10 seconds. You get yelled at by Kirk Cousins on the sideline.
Yeah, exactly. Getting 3 seconds to get out of your release, it's not great. So far, he's been fantastic. He's shown a level of physicality and acceleration that I think translates. So check him out, Ty Montgomery. Different Ty Montgomery than the one you think.
Is he Jalen Naylor's replacement?
Yeah, yes, let's do it. Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right.
He rushed for seven times, 104 rushing yards last year. Versatile. Let's check out his receiving.
You're looking up John Carroll stats?
119 receptions, 1,528 yards, 15 TDs.
Productive.
Yeah, I think he set like an NCAA record of something regarding that, but Division III. Still, he was the whole offense. So
he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 100-yard games, and one. Yeah, never mind. I was trying to come up with something with his carries. Not really that impressive. Yeah. Guess the nickname of John Carroll.
The nick of John Carroll.
Yeah, the nickname of John. The
mascot.
The mascot.
Are they gonna be like the Angry Hedgehogs or something weird?
No, that'd be fun. I think we'd know it because they're a pretty successful Division III program, right? So we'd know it if it was like crazy, like Banana Slugs or something.
It is a euphemism for swearing too much.
Are they the Blues? The Blue Streaks?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Martin Lawrence movie.
That's pretty rad.
Wow. I like that.
Now let's see about this John Carroll guy. No, I probably won't.
I'm not going to dig into it.
I'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Reggie, for being here. We appreciate that. In for spin today, Arif Hassan, wide left, Luke Braun, Locked on Vikings. I'm Sam Ekstrom. I'm going to go take a lozenge and about 4 ibuprofen. Try to feel better. Thanks for watching, listening, commenting, and subscribing. We'll talk to you next time on The Squad Show.